Hello there. Today we are going to go through a wedding ceremony that I wrote and used to officiate a wedding a couple weeks ago. Now, the couple was really traditional, and so I spent some time in the most traditional Christian wedding, Genesis. And I think where I ended up was really refreshing, and it really resonated with a lot of people at the wedding. And there were some requests for my notes. Now, my notes were a hot mess. So I actually spent a lot of time really getting to know the material. And so thankfully, I didn't really need super detailed notes. However, I think it's worth uh, writing it down. So I wrote down a word for word version of what the ceremony could be. And this is, I think, just great for people who are really interested in this perspective. But also, if you are officiating a wedding and want to use this, feel free. So I think that's it. Without further ado, let's dive in. One more thing to mention is that there is going to be a longer version of this ceremony. Now, that was what I originally wrote. I had to trim it down a lot because good wedding ceremonies are really short. But there will be a longer version with some deeper dives into some of the ideas and some of the history and some of the context. So if you're really interested in that sort of thing, I would recommend checking that out when I post it. Now let's dive in for real. Welcome to this union of two people we all love very much and whose love for each other is sometimes ridiculous, often cheesy, but always beautiful. But what is marriage? For the answer to that question, we go back to the beginning of time. In the ancient text of Genesis, it says, "Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." This language is a bit weird in 2025, so we need to understand how we got here. When God made man, he formed him from the earth and breathed his own divine life into him. To make woman, he took a very different approach. He put the man into a deep sleep. I like to think he just gave him a big meal and let him fall into a food coma. Men are not that complicated. But while the man was sleeping, he took bone and flesh from the man's side, and from that bone and flesh formed woman. Some would say that man is earth refined, and that woman is earth that has been refined and refined again, which is why she is the most beautiful of all creation. I have to point out that God did not take woman from the flesh of a man's feet for him to rule over her, nor did he take her from the bone of his head for her to rule over him. He took her from his side for her to stand next to him as they rule creation together. So therefore, this is why, this answers our question. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Marriage is the coming together of two separate things into their natural state. Woman and man were once physically one flesh, and in marriage, that one flesh is united again. We have a quote in romantic comedies: "You complete me." And we think of it as cheesy, but on a divine and cosmic level, this quote is literally true. All of this underscores the seriousness with which Anna and Devin take their vows today. We live in a time when divorce is incredibly common, but in their commitment today, Devin and Anna reject that option in favor of their bond to each other. And there's no two better people suited for it. I've known Anna her entire life, and it is easy to say that she is beautiful, thoughtful, generous, relentless, beyond smart. If I had to choose a word to describe her, it would be a force of nature. And I know that's 3 words, but if you know Anna, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, Devin, I don't know quite as well, but what has impressed me about him the past 2 years is the honor with which he carries himself. You would have to search far and wide to find someone to say a foul thing about Devin. And I think, too, that people miss Devin's strength. As clear and as loud as Anna's beauty is, so Devin's strength is quiet and missed by those except for those with the eyes to see. We've touched on what Genesis said about marriage, but Jesus also had something to say. Some men come up to Jesus one day and they say, "Jesus, what up?" So this woman, she married this guy and he died, and now she's married to me. Whose wife will she be in heaven? I think Jesus might have pulled his hair out a little bit. He said, "You guys don't get it. There is no marriage in heaven." Now, I think there's two different points that Jesus is making here, and both of them are hopeful. For those in bad marriages, Jesus is offering release. This is not something to suffer for all of time. At death, you are released from this covenant of a miserable matrimony. But for the most romantic of hearts, for people like Anna and Devin, what Jesus says here can be heartbreaking. These two mean it when they say that with all their hearts that they want to be together forever. For couples like this, the idea that heaven is the death of their bond is devastating. But I don't think that's what Jesus is saying. I think what Jesus is saying is that we live in a broken world, a world so broken that we use everything that we can to bind things together: contracts, promises, the covenant of marriage. These things are all bindings we make to try and try and try to hold things together in any way we possibly can. But in an age of harmony, and heaven, if you will, there is no need for contracts, for promises, or covenants, because all is in harmony, and your choice is enough. And so for Anna and Devin, I think that if these two want to spend 1,000 years carving Anna loves Devin forever and Devin loves Anna forever into 1,000 trees, I think that's a safe bet. I think that's a desire that they can put in heaven. And for everyone else here, I want to say that whatever your desire is, heaven is a safe place for it. Maybe it's that trip you'll never get to take or that hobby you never got to learn. I don't care how ridiculous or silly or wild your desire is. Heaven is a safe place for it. And I'll tell you why. Because no matter how big your desires are, Jesus' dreams for you and his desire for you is far bigger than what you could ever hope for yourself. And I promise that when you meet him, what he has prepared for you will blow you away. It will literally be beyond your wildest imagination. Now, on that note of desire, I have but one question to ask Devin and Anna. It's a yes or no question, and I would like the answer to be loud and clear, please. Anna, do you enter into this marriage with Devin from the desire of your heart? Yes. Devin, do you enter into this marriage with Anna from the desire of your heart? Yes. I'm going to let that moment just hang in the air. Now, that's the point where I would move on and invite the rest of the ceremony to happen, the readings, the recitals, and the rest. But again, I will be posting this, the document that I just read, into the description if you want to use this. It's just the type of thing where it's like, if you're using it at a wedding, fine, but don't republish it under your own name. Be respectful. I probably will have some sort of Creative Commons license on it, but just generally be respectful, and there's no problem with it. Thank you for putting up with me losing my voice. I've been very sick, but I think that's it. Again, keep your eye out for the next version of this, which is a bit longer and has a lot more context to it as far as the Genesis take on weddings and marriage. So I hope to see you in that one.